Hey guys, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I'm your host Magnet, and today we're going to be going over some ZvZ openers to finally close out our openers for Zerg in this tutorial series here. We're going to be taking a look at a gas first speed build and a defensive expansion build. Both of these are going to give you guys hatcheries. We're not going to show you all-ins or anything like that, which you can run if you want to, but that doesn't really make you better as a player. The idea with these is basically to get expansions down at pretty reasonable times that are going to be well defended with some decent transitions, and I'll show you guys all the different intricacies of those. And especially with Zerg, these builds aren't going to run exactly the same way in the video as they will in your games because they're so reactionary and there's so many different decisions you have to make once the build is established. So we'll go ahead and get it started and do our best to explain all the different things that you might see during a game. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. We'll go ahead and create it. Let me make sure that I'm doing this right. Yep, okay. And again, we're going to run just against a very easy AI Zerg. This is just so that we can focus on running our opener, and I'll show you guys all the different scouting information and ways you need to change your build based upon what you're going to see during a game. So the AI in this one's not really going to do much so that we can focus on other things. If you're going to be practicing against AI, this won't give you a very genuine experience because ZvZ is very back and forth. You have to be able to just ride those waves and make correct decisions as it goes along. So with this first Overlord, you want to actually just send it to his natural expand. And you're just going to continue to make drones here up until 9 like we usually do. Set your rallies out here, doesn't really matter. Once you get to 9, you're going to wait for your first Overlord. A 9 Overlord is really standard in pretty much any Zerg build. Some people can go 10. It's up to you, but 9 is a little bit more economical by just a handful of minerals. Okay, so this one, of course, is going to be gas first speed, and I'll show you guys all the different timings that you need for that. We'll show you why we do these different things and the reasoning for having quicker speed. This build will give you a little bit more flexibility throughout the earlier stages of the game if you want to be more aggressive. Now with your Overlords in ZvZ especially, you want to kind of make a line straight from their base to yours so that you can see their army coming across the map and prepare for that. So that's what I'm doing with these Overlords here, and that's the reason you're going to see them all just sitting out on the map. Now you want to take your gas on 14, and then we're going to take a pool on 13. It's going to be a pretty aggressive pool and a pretty aggressive speed. So we're going to wait for our drone to come down for 200, or rather we're going to wait for 200 minerals in order to make our pool. And there we go. And then continue to build drones here. And assign to gas as soon as possible. This will make it so that you can almost start speed right when your pool is done. And the faster speed is going to give you an advantage if you want to be aggressive or if you want to be more safe against really fast all-ins in the early game. So we will watch out for that. Now we are at 16 supply. This is about where we want to make our next Overlord. So we're going to have enough money for an Overlord and speed as soon as that's ready. So we'll wait for that larva to come up and make the Overlord. And you'll see our minerals are about lining up to start speed as soon as the pool is done, and that's definitely what you want to do. So there we go. Perfect at 100 gas. And then the next couple of things you want to make is 2 pairs of Zerglings just to be defensive here and just to kind of get out on the map. We won't get too crazy with these Zerglings today, but we just kind of want to demonstrate everything that needs to happen here. Now we're going to send a drone down here to make our expansion just so we can get that up at a reasonable time, and if we have speed up and if we control well enough, then that should not be much of a risk. Then after that drone is down there to make the expansion, let's go ahead and make a queen so we can get our larva going. With these Zerglings, you probably want to send them forward, and we'll explain that in the replay. We'll just focus on running the build for right now. Now we're still mining a lot of gas, so we probably want to put down like an evolution chamber to get +1 for our lings. And like I said, this is going to be a little bit more early game oriented build. You can pull guys off gas here if you want to, if you don't want to mine this much gas. But this is going to give you a fair amount of gas so you can get upgrades going, so you can get your banelings up if you want to. And speaking of that, just to be a little more safe, we're going to go ahead and make our Baneling Nest as well, just to defend against some delayed all-ins or stuff like that. Now we do have a couple of units back here. We'll go ahead and back them off just a little bit. Our queen is done. And with this one, you can choose which upgrade you want to start. We'll go ahead and just start the melee upgrade for the sake of, you know, of whatever we want to do, I guess. Now we're going to go ahead and transfer this queen down here. And we'll make, actually no, we'll just make a new queen down at the natural. It doesn't make that big of a difference. Okay, so our lings are being attacked, and that's a good cue that we need to probably make more, so that we don't run into any problems. And we're mining a little bit too much gas. We're going to go ahead and slow down on that just a tad. Since we are losing a couple of units back here, we'll go ahead and back off just a little bit, and we'll just reinforce that position with more lings. I think that's about as far as we should go here, because there's so many different things that you need to know in this matchup as far as how to react and what to do. So let me go ahead and open up the replay of this past game, and I'll explain the reasons why I was doing different things and what you should be doing throughout the game. And I know Zerg builds don't run that long into the game, and that's because you need to start making decisions at that point that are going to affect how the rest of the game plays out. So let's go ahead and jump into the replays here. I hope that they got that silly bug fixed. And I don't know why it's not coming into... Okay, now it is. Whatever. Okay. So I'm going to explain the little bit of tug of war that happens in the early game ZvZ and how this build's going to give you a good advantage in that tug of war. The whole idea with ZvZ is get as many drones up as you possibly can without dying. This one is not as economical as the next build I'm going to show you, and this is because this is how most people play this matchup, and kind of how you have to play this matchup. You have to play fairly aggressively and fairly all over the map, but if you're not ready for that stage yet, maybe you should check out the next build, but we'll go ahead and explain this one really quickly. So we're going to go up to 9 drones once again and make our Overlord on 9, so there we go. And then right after that, we're going to continue to make drones up until 14. So we're at 12 right now. And again, with these overlords, you want to send them out to basically a line across the map. So if he has an army coming across, you know all about it and you know exactly where it is. That's just so you can build enough defenses in order to hold off any sort of crazy attack that they might be doing. Okay, so like we said before, gas is going to be on 14, pool is on 13, and then as soon as the gas is done, go ahead and fill it up with drones. And of course, you should notice with Zerg that once you make a building, your supply goes down by 1. So that's why 14 gas, 13 pool is actually a thing, because you lose a drone for each action. So, I'm going to continue on here. And we're going to, again, continue to make drones as long as we can, but wait until your pool is about done. You're going to save this one and make it into an overlord so you have supply to proceed in the next part of the game. And then you'll have 100 gas and just a little bit of extra minerals once this pool pops, so you can start speed right away. Now Zergling speed is really important in this matchup because if you get flooded with Zergling speed, Zerglings, they can just run circles around your slow ones. And that's the whole reason why you want to do that. In this build, we're not getting enough queens and stuff to block off our ramp, so we will have to cover both bases if we do get attacked. And that's why speed is so important. So by this stage, again, once your pool is done, you're going to make 2 pairs of Zerglings. There's our first pair and there's our second pair. This pair is going to be to kind of feel out the map and see what's going on. And of course against the AI we're not going to see very much. By this stage in the game you might see an expansion here or not. This will tell you what you need to do. If you don't see an expansion by this stage, I would take your own expansion, but don't start to make drones until they make their expansion. This is going to make it so that you have the production off this hatchery, and so that when his hatchery starts, yours is already done and you're ahead by quite a bit. So that's one little adjustment I would make, but you'll be able to know that with your lings anyway. So going to continue to fast forward here. Make your queen as soon as those pairs of Zerglings are out. And again, this is the stage where if you want to stop mining gas, you definitely can. But if you want faster upgrades, go ahead and drop the evolution chamber and keep guys on gas. If you pull guys off of gas, you still have the ling speed. You can drop a Baneling Nest just to make a couple Banelings every once in a while. If you want to be aggressive, you definitely want to keep these guys on gas so you have enough to fund your Banelings. So, these Zerglings out here, I'll tell you about their purpose. You can kind of poke up here just a little bit every once in a while to see what's going on, but you kind of want to keep them around this area. And then if he moves out with some units, like a whole bunch of Zerglings, if he ever has more Zerglings than you do, then your next bit of production should be on more Zerglings. So that the idea is, you just put some Zerglings out to detect whether he's coming across the map, And then you'll be able to see how many Zerglings he has, and then you can make Lings and Banelings and stuff of your own back at home, or you can run these Zerglings back and just build up your Zergling force and push him back, and you might get into a stage where you just kind of fight back and forth across the map with little bits of Zerglings, so that neither player really has to commit, but both players have to kind of keep each other honest so they can't just make drones the entire game. That's the other reason of keeping these Lings forward. You can poke up here just a little bit, and if he's not making Zerglings, you can pick off drones, you can do all kinds of stuff. So this is kind of where the build would start to really branch out quite a bit. You're going to kind of play these Ling back and forth wars, and if you ever find an opportunity where you have a ton of Lings and he doesn't have a lot, you can morph some Banelings, you can just get in there and try to do some damage. But I would suggest just putting out enough Lings to make sure that you don't die and you can continue to make drones and get into a later game, because that's where you're really going to improve. So that's kind of the basics of this opener. And again, they're not that complicated, but I want to kind of explain the reason why we get those faster speeds and stuff like that. If you had your Lings out there and you didn't have that fast speed, then they would instantly get surrounded, you'd lose 4 Lings for nothing, and you might lose the game if they just attack you. So the speed is kind of to make sure that you can retreat and that you have opportunities to attack if that ever comes up. So let me wait for this next little stage to load, and we will get another game going. And again, the second build we're going to be talking about is a quicker expand, but it's going to be a much more defensive build. Let's go on Derelict Watcher again, just for the sake of fun. This one is not going to get speed right away. This one's going to prioritize a hatchery, but it's also going to prioritize some more defensive building placement and extra queens, so that you can block your ramp if you get all in, so that you can defend little bits of Zerglings here and there without needing that faster speed. It'll get you a lot more drones, and it'll get you into the mid game a little smoother. I would recommend, instead of staying on Ling Bane like we did in the first build for quite a while, that you get into Roaches a little faster on this one, because you're going to have a lot more drones and you're going to have a lot more defensive posture. Roaches is the smarter way to go here. So I'll do my best to explain this as we're playing. Again, with this Overlord, you want to get out there, and you're going to rely on basically your Overlords much more than Zerglings out on the map, because your speed is going to be so late. So, yeah, I guess what I'm getting at here is that you're not going to have Lings out there, so you need to be good at watching your minimap to see if stuff's coming across. So again, drone up to 9 drones, and then make your Overlord. So this larva right here is going to be our Overlord. Oh, I guess there's 2, never mind.
We require more minerals.
And we'll just go ahead and make that Overlord once we get 100 minerals. And I know it's annoying to hear the Queen talking during these videos, but frankly, you're going to hear that during your own games, so you're going to need to know that anyway. You can rally your second Overlord a little closer to your base, just so that you can see them right outside your base. It's kind of up to you, but still you want to make a line of Overlords across the map from his base to your base. So you can place these wherever you're comfortable. The idea is that they're not going to have units that will shoot up for quite a long time, so you're not in really any great risk by putting Overlords out on the map. You may lose them later if he goes into Hydra or Muta, but you can also pull them back once you realize that stage of the game is coming, so you don't lose them anyway. So we're going to make our pool on 14. We're going to wait for this drone to finish. This is usually going to be the one that you can put down if you don't take gas first. So he should walk there and have the pool ready basically as soon as he gets there. So this one's going to be a 16 hatchery. So we're going to go ahead and drone up to 16 and then make our hatchery, and then we're going to make a gas right after, because that speed still is pretty important, but we're not going to prioritize it as hard as we did last time. So we're at 16 as soon as this next larva comes out. There we go. And you can rally this larva down there, but I think it'll be just a tad late. It doesn't make a huge difference, so we'll just send him down when we're about 100 minerals away from being ready to start the hatchery. So he'll come down here, we'll get our hatchery started. There we go. And you want a gas right after that, so go ahead and make a gas. And then you can continue to drone back up just a little bit, but you do want to go ahead and make that pair of Zerglings once again. So it looks like we squoze in 1 drone there, and another larva should be coming out here in just a second. So yeah, there we go. And then with our next larva, we do want to make an Overlord, because we're going to be supply blocked here in just a second. There we go. And we'll go ahead and rally this Overlord over there, somewhere in the middle of the map, and want to make sure our hatcheries are rallied and everything. Now, again, since we don't have as fast a speed, we don't want to risk losing these Zerglings out in the middle of the map. So you can keep them back at home And this is probably a little bit more beginner-friendly build, so it just depends on what you're comfortable with, really. People have different skill sets from all different leagues, and it just depends on what suits them. Now, when you're about 21 supply, when this Overlord pops, go ahead and start your queen back at your main. And you want to also start a queen at your natural as well once that finishes, and we'll show you why. We're coming up on our speed. We need to watch out for that 100 gas and get that speed started as soon as we can. But you can squeeze in drones here. You can make a little bit of extra Zerglings if you've been having trouble on the ladder with this build. There's a lot of different things you can do. Go ahead and make that queen. And what you want to do is you want to start a spine at your natural, just to help defend your queen. And I like to make an extra queen here. We're actually going to hit a supply block here in just a second, so we're going to go ahead and make an Overlord. And we'll go ahead and actually transfer this queen down, and we'll wait for our supply to come up just a little bit so that we can actually start a queen here. Now we do need to remember speed. I did forget that for just a second because I was talking. But yeah, try to avoid that in your own games. We do have an Overlord coming up. It should be right here. Yep, there we go. And then from here, you actually want to take one drone that spawns down here, and you want to make a Baling Nest to help defend this queen. So you're going to have two queens down here, and you want them close enough to your ramp, and you want them kind of blocked in just a little bit with a Baling Nest. So you can see this is basically where this build ends, by the way. I'll explain this in the replay why you want this setup here, and we'll go ahead and talk about this just a little bit. Do have to apologize, I did miss that speed quite a bit, but you have the money for it when you get 100 gas. Just make sure you nail that on your own. But in this build, it's probably not as hugely important to have that speed done right away. I mean, obviously it is better to have it done right when you get the 100 gas, but I was talking a lot and I kind of missed it, but yeah. No big deal. Oh, whoops, we want to watch the replay. We don't want to go into another game. Lol. Like messing up all over the place here. Alright. So again, the idea with ZvZ is make as many drones as you can without dying. This one's going to give you a little bit easier opportunity to do that, because you don't have to do that Ling wrestling in the middle of the map like your opponent might want to do. You're just going to kind of sit back and use your Overlords to detect any incoming attacks. So, like for example, if your Overlord's sitting right here, you should be able to see this entire area. You should be able to see on your mini-map whether Lings or anything else is coming across the map, and then you can stop making drones and just make units instead in order to hold that. A lot of people prefer this playstyle over the Ling wrestling in the middle of the map, and that's totally fine. It is a little more risky if they just decide to pool up units in their main and hide them from you, but then you also have the defenses down here with the spine and two queens. So yeah, I mean there's trade-offs in either way, but we're at 9 supply here. We're going to make an Overlord, as you can see it come up on the production tab here, or in the larva or eggs or whatever you want to call it. So there's the Overlord. Continue to make drones up to 14, which is when you're going to drop your pool. 14 pool is really standard. This opener is actually most similar to ZVP thus far, but it goes with a faster gas. So we'll continue to make drones here. You're going to make them up to 16, and then you're going to pull a drone for your hatchery at about 200 minerals. So you can see I pull him right now, and then when he gets down there, you should have just enough for the hatchery. There we go. And a gas immediately afterward. This is just so you can get your Ling speed up at a respectable time, and so you'll have the gas for Banelings defensively if you absolutely need it. So continue to go on here. Our pool is done, so once your pool is done, you want to make sure that you've been saving at least one larva so you can get some Zerglings out. So this first pair is going to go here, the second pair is going to go to the same place. This is just to defend yourself in case you absolutely need to get units out. It's okay to have these 4 Zerglings just sitting around, but especially without speed. So yeah, just keep them right here, have them hang out. This is just kind of a pillow, just in case you get attacked, to kind of soften the blow. Our Overlord's done, so we want to start our Queen right then, because now we have the supply for it. And then when this hatchery's done, you want to start a Queen here as well. You probably shouldn't miss or at least get the Overlord as late as I did, so you can get another Overlord now if you want to with this larva. But yeah, it's kind of up to you, and you can see I do make it into a drone. But the hatchery does grant you a little bit of extra supply, so we actually didn't hit that bad of a wall. Right now is when I should start my speeds. You can see I have 100 gas, and start a spine as soon as the hatchery finishes down here. When your Queen is done, make sure to get the inject on there. And then I prefer to transfer the Queen here, because you want 2 Queens at your natural and 1 in your main. And the idea here is that we're going to show you with the building positioning in just a second. We're going to walk her down. Now once your 2 Queens are there, you can start a Baling Nest here at your natural, and you can see your resources are lining up pretty nicely. You can make these into banelings once this finishes, so this is just giving you a little bit of extra gas. And like in the previous opener, you can pull 1 or 2 guys off of gas here if you want to, but I would recommend at the minimum keeping 2 working here. So the idea with this is that if you position your queens here and you put a baneling nest down once your creep spreads far enough, and it is a little bit random, sometimes it'll take a little longer than other times, but the point here is that if they attack you with a lot of Zerglings, the spine is covering your 2 queens quite a bit. So this queen in the middle is basically not going to get hit for a while, and if you can help it, try to inject with the bottom one so that this one can transfuse either your spine or your baneling nest or your queen that might be getting attacked. And the idea here is that these guys can cover quite a bit of surface area in order to defend against all-ins. Now, if you're, or rather, this would be better just defend against like tiny little attacks. If you're getting all-in, the reason you want 2 queens down here is so you can hold position on your ramp, so that they'll have to fight the spine and they'll have to fight your reinforcements that might be fighting down here. The 2 queens blocking is just going to assure that you have 1 spot to fight, since your speed is going to be late. If your speed is late and theirs was really early and you don't block the ramp here, all of a sudden you have to cover all of this and all of this and all of this. So these 2 queens are here basically to serve as a blockade if you absolutely need them right here, but they'll also serve as a little bit of harassment defense against little packs of Zerglings and stuff like that. You need to be able to make these decisions for yourself as far as where these 2 queens should be, but that's the whole point of this build. It's just to get into queens, a lot of queens actually, 3 queens is what we're at already, as the 3rd one will be coming out here. They'll give you plenty of larvae and everything, and you can actually start to spread your creeps. So if you want to, with this inside queen, you can just drop a creep tumor like right here, and then start to spread it out. This will transition into mid-game roach really quickly, so if you want to, once you start to feel comfortable, you can put a roach warren down and put roaches out instead of having to do the Ling-Baneling wars. Yeah, I feel like I'm rambling quite a bit, so that's pretty much the idea behind both of these openers. I hope I explained them pretty well. If you have any questions down at the bottom, or rather if you have any questions about the build, just post in the comments down there and I will get to it. Check out our sponsors that help out these videos quite a bit, SC2 Replay Stats, Allstate, and Propel Zero. And if you want to check out my gaming team or my stream, the links are at the bottom right. They will be cool things to check out if you don't have anything better to do. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed all these openers. Next, we'll be getting into unit compositions and general strategy in all the matchups. So stay tuned for those builds, or not builds. Stay tuned for those videos. Jeez, this is really rocky. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and thanks for watching.